Hello, welcome and thank you for coming to our 9th lecture in the North Seattle College Visiting Lecture Series. I'm Amanda Knowles, the coordinator of the NSC Art Gallery, and I teach in the art department at North Seattle College. I'm pleased to work with Karen Stuhldreher, who assists in the gallery, does a million amazing things for us, and will be letting folks in today. We have live transcript available for those of you who want it. Those of you who don't, you can go to the bottom of your Zoom screen and hide it if it is at all distracting to you. But I want to make sure that people who need it have it. We are so pleased to be able to find ways to have artists continue to come to talk with us and show us what they're working on. The NSC Art Gallery continues to host a virtual visiting artist lecture series every other week this quarter. Including this talk, there are 2 left this quarter, and we will be working on 5 for next quarter, including an alumni panel. I urge you to visit our website to see the list of upcoming visiting artists and for links to recordings of those who have spoken to date. We have put the links in the chat. Thank you, Karen, for doing that. We will begin this lecture with some acknowledgements. The first is a land acknowledgement. On behalf of North Seattle College, we acknowledge that we occupy the traditional ancestral lands of the Coast Salish peoples, specifically the Duwamish tribe, a people that are still here, continuing to honor and to bring to light their ancient heritage. Without them, we would not have access to this gathering, dialogue, and learning space. We ask that we take this opportunity to thank the original caretakers of this land who are still here. Additionally, we have a labor acknowledgement. We also pause to recognize and acknowledge the labor that created the United States and from which we all benefit. We remember that our nation is built on the labor of enslaved people who were forcibly brought to the United States from the African continent, and we recognize the continued contribution of their survivors. We acknowledge immigrant labor and recognize that voluntary forced and prison labor contribute to the building and maintenance of our nation. We acknowledge all unpaid caregiving labor. Additionally, we acknowledge the critical importance of uprisings for racial equity that continue across this country in response to inequity and generations of structural racism against Black communities. Black lives, Black minds, and Black voices matter. And then the third thing is the actions that we have taken as an art department, as also as an institution. And I show this to let you know that it is important to acknowledge, but it is also important to move that into action. And so just sort of showing you what we have done. We also recommend Real Rent Duwamish as something to support. So thank you.
I've put that link in the chat.
Okay. It is a pleasure to introduce you to Sharon Nyree Williams. I was introduced to Sharon during Michael B. Maine's exhibition at the North Seattle College Art Gallery last year. His show was entitled "Do You See Me Now?" Sharon was photographed for this project, and as a part of the programming for the show, came to perform. I admit I did a bad job in scheduling her talk, and so the turnout was really small. But what I witnessed there, starting with a loving introduction by Michael B. Maine, continuing to the strong and emotional performance, and to the question and answer session, was community. We've invited Sharon back to perform and speak to a larger audience. And as I'm looking at the numbers, I'm seeing it is much larger. So I'm really excited about that. Just a quick aside, in the primary school that I attended in Philadelphia, we had the amazing luck to have a storyteller as a teacher. I tell you this story not to center myself in any way, but to tell you about this amazing woman, Linda Goss, also known as Mama Linda, who taught us about storytelling in general and the Black storytelling tradition specifically. Her daughter Uhuru was in my class, and I recently got in touch after seeing that Mama Linda had a book of poetry out, The Color of My Soul. Plug. I feel blessed to have had this amazing woman introduce me to storytelling. But this is about Sharon. So Sharon received her BA in television production as well as an MBA in business administration from Delaware State University. She has an MFA in arts leadership from Seattle University. Sharon Nyree Williams is a storyteller and arts administrator. Sharon has been writing and developing her stories in Seattle for 16 years. Sharon has performed throughout the United States and in Rwanda. Current projects include her solo show, Dare to Claim the Sky, which she has performed at ACT Theater and Cornish College of the Arts, as well as many other venues. She has a poetry plus storytelling album out entitled Shook. Sharon is Executive Director of Central District Forum for Arts and Ideas, Chair of the Historic Central Area Arts and Cultural District. She is a former Seattle Arts Commissioner and serves on Langston Board of Directors. Sharon loves experiencing life through the artistry of storytelling and leadership. Before I hand it over to Sharon, I want you to know that if questions come up during the performance, please write them in the chat. You can also, at the end, you can also ask them live. But the ones in the chat, we'll hopefully get to each one of them later on. Thank you for joining us, Sharon, and please take it away.
Thank you, Amanda, and thank you, community. What's up? I see y'all waving at me. That's what's up. I am so excited and hella nervous at the same time to be with you today. I see you, Santiago. So Amanda, the time that we spent together not too long ago was great. And, everybody was in the room that needed to be there at the time. And so I'm feeling the same way about this space. And so I have been going back and forth about what I wanted to talk about today. At one point, I wanted to be like, okay, I'm trying to work in this creative stuff and this arts leadership stuff. So how do I combine that? And so it gave me a headache. And I started reading some writings that I have written during COVID and that I haven't performed anywhere. And so I decided to read those things to give you a sense of my stream of consciousness during a specific time. And, but I'm not going to say I won't perform anything else. So if you came here today knowing my work or knowing of my work, and you want to hear something specific around depression, religion, family, Black men, please put it in the chat and I will make sure I'll respond to that with a piece. And I also want to encourage you, while I'm reading, feel free to have conversations amongst yourselves in the chat. And I'll try to get to as many questions, like Amanda said, as I can. And so this stuff that you're hearing today, nobody has heard it before. So I'm on June 20th, I wrote in my journaling type writing challenge to myself, Look Past Perfection and See Community, by Dr. Maya Angelou. And so I am going to ask you to look past my perfection and walk with me as you are hearing these pieces. And I just want to give a shout out. She's probably not watching, but my mom. I don't write a lot about my mother yet, but over the last year or so, we've gotten really closer together. And so and one of the things that Maya Angelou said in her commencement speech, one of her commencement speeches to Morehouse, I can't think of the other name, but anyway, I got you. But she said, bring everybody with you when you go into a space. When you go into interviews, be like, come on, uncle, I know you've been dead for 20 years. Come on with me. Auntie, come on with me. Cousin, come on with me. Grandma, come with me. Daddy, come with me. Mama, come with me. Friends that has inspired me, come with me. So I just want to say that all those people are with me today. And so it is not me that is just saying these words to you. Their influences is what has driven me and given me the ability to speak with you today. So we're going to go by dates on this one because a lot of these don't have names. And so I'm going to start with July 21st and then I'm going to back up to June, if that's okay with everyone. So on July 21st, I wrote, I accept your apology. The Constitution. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. Do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. I grew up playing with white dolls. Santa Claus was white. The stars on my family's favorite soap operas were white. All the semi-sexy men in movies were white. The Beatles are British, but hella white. Elvis, white. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure that all my textbooks were written by white people. 95% of my teachers were white, and 98% of what I was taught in school was based on white culture and beliefs. Doctors, white. Banks owned and led by white people. Grocery store owned by white people. Newspaper, white. Television producers, white. Television networks, white. Pilots, white. The Nutcracker, white. Movie stars, white. Presidents, white. Me looking at myself in the mirror, black. That's all I said on that day. I don't know where that came from, but that's all I said on that. I know where it came from. And so now I'm gonna take you back to June. I'm gonna go from June 8th to probably like June 13th and what I was thinking. So this happened on June 8th. Is it possible to not feel your soul? I've been wondering if I still have a soul. Am I just numb? As my ancestors would say, lay my burden down. But I question, what is my burden to carry? If I'm asked to carry the cross like Jesus, will I have the strength to carry it? Whom am I carrying it for? Why have I been chosen to carry it? Wait, am I just making this shit up? Crosses, burdens, numbness. Damn, do I have a soul? So I do this thing where I kind of like battle. I'm in this battle with depression. Sometimes it wins, sometimes I win. And so through this time, I had to, of course, see my therapist. So on June 9th, I went to see my therapist, and this is how it went. Okay, I went and saw my therapist today, and she messed my mind up. She challenged me on what it meant to have seen a person with no soul. She kind of made me rethink my wording, but I'll think about it and let myself know. She also reassured me that I'm supposed to have all these different layers to me. She said, having all these layers made me a success. I humbly accept that I have reached some major markers in my life, but I really need to continue to examine who I am to be able to move forward. I believe we as people are all going to be different when all of this is over. I'm not satisfied with saying I'm different because of the pandemic. I want to say I'm different because I use this opportunity to really figure out my purpose, which I believe will lead me down the correct path to my future. I know what I do. Now, I just really need to know why I do it. On July 10th, the day after my therapy appointment, I spoke with my dad a little while ago, and the conversation made me feel some kind of way. My dad had responded to one of my text messages from earlier and said, I was going to tell you I had a sharing moment. I got excited. First of all, what is a sharing moment? My response was, tell me more. I was expecting something happy and exciting, but what I got was a man in pain. He said on Saturday or Sunday, his life flashed before his eyes. He started getting these thoughts and he had to write them down. The only other time I've heard my dad be this defeated was when he talked about how they treated him when he returned from the Vietnam War. What scares me about this conversation is that he was remembering all the pain that we as Black people have suffered. He started with slavery. Then he jumped to my graduating from high school, the Vietnam War, Desert Storm, and all the violence against Black people. He summed it up with one simple word: control. I tried to sit as still as possible, and I sat up in my chair so I could really listen to what he was saying. I hear the pain and the frustration in his voice. He said they've always had their knee on our neck. They've always had their knee on our backs. They never wanted us to learn how to read so they could control us. They didn't want us to have anything so they could control us. They hated that when they taught us something, we learned it. And if we got too good, they would find a way so we wouldn't get that acknowledgement of being better than them. I know he's my father, but for 30 or 45 minutes, we were on the phone. I wanted to take his pain away. It was the realization that this man who has worked his ass off for a country that doesn't respect or value him is in serious pain. I'm not a little girl anymore, and all I could think about is how I can make my dad happy again. I also wonder if he has ever really truly been happy. I mean, think about it. When it came to breaking down the slaves, they had to break and shatter everyone. But the Black man was the biggest challenge because if given the opportunity, they could become strong enough to overtake the masters. Think about it. He was most likely in his teens during the Civil Rights Movement and then was drafted into the Vietnam War. When he came back from the war, he was kicked off the plane so they could transport a prisoner instead. Therefore, he had to find his way home. And because he was military, he was treated like shit. One, because he was Black, and two, because the Vietnam War was a war that the US had no business fighting. Now, I can't help but ask myself, has he ever been truly happy? I mean, yes, he has appeared to be happy with life, his kids, some success at his job, etc. But I'm feeling like he has been holding on to the sadness and disappointment on how Black people have been treated in his heart. And last Saturday or Sunday was the first time that he has ever been able to really let out what is necessary for him to get out of his soul. Wow. That just took me back to yesterday. When my therapist asked me, have I ever seen a person without a soul? Yesterday, my answer was, nah, I guess I hadn't. But now I'm speaking with my dad. I think I've been surrounded by people that don't have a soul. They never showed themselves to me before, but tonight, I feel as though I know exactly what a person with no soul looks like. They look like my dad and me. Damn. I'm done. Then I moved to June 11th. I'm going to write about shucking corn. That's the title. School's out, summer's here. I got to get packed up to get out of here. I'm not going to grandma's, not this time. I'm staying with uncle. This is an example of what trying to force myself to be creative looks like. I really thought I wanted to write about learning how to shuck corn over the summer when I stayed with my uncle. But as you can see, it didn't really go anywhere. It would have been corny anyway, so who cares? What's the difference between power and control? Power, according to Google, is the ability to do something or act in a particular way, especially as a faculty or quality. Control, according to Google, is the power to influence or direct people's behavior or the course of events. It's interesting that the definition of control has the word power and influence. While power is about acting a certain kind of way, I just keep going back to the conversation with my father and how he kept saying they want to control us. The way I'm sort of interpreting it now is that they want to control us so they can show that they have the power to influence others. It reminds me of a time when I worked at Seattle University. And some of the faculty kept saying that I had the power. I remember it bugged the hell out of me. I didn't feel like I had any power and damn sure didn't have any control. But for some reason, they were threatened by the idea of me having power. Maybe it was because they knew that they couldn't control me, or actually the numbers controlled my position as a manager of budget and operations. The thought of having power over something or someone never has set well with me. I think it's because it's superficial. It doesn't really do anything to help make me a better person or even more successful. It's amazing how so many people yearn for power and control. I'm seeing a lot of that right now during this revolutionary movement. The tug of war between the two evils of power and control. Hell, am I the only one that sees the damage that both of those things has done to the world? It destroys the very essence of who we could be, meaning we could be so much better if egos didn't drive people to want to have power and control. It's much easier to collaborate and work together if you relinquish those two things and just come to the table with a genuine desire to do good work. I guess that's something we've been taught throughout history, and we just aren't strong enough as a society to let it go. Take away power and control, and just maybe we might be able to do something special, like creating a world where I truly believe that me as a Black woman will have a fair chance at doing my part to uplift myself, my family, my friends, and my community. The only reason that won't truly happen is because it's just too damn hard to let go of what has been ingrained into our society since the beginning of time. The people with the power and the control run this motherfucker. Loris asked me, how am I so open and confident to get personal and share your struggles within your writing? I don't know. It has been an outlet for me to deal with situations. And I think my motivation, Loris, is my nephew and nieces, and wanting them to actually know what I've gone through to make them better. And if I can do that for them, then I feel as though I can do it for other people in the world, like y'all on this call. So I hope that me sharing my stories sparks you to have conversations with people in your own family and in your own network, so that we can become a better society in having those type conversations. Hi, yes, thank you. So on June 12th, I moved on, and I have no clue what this one is about. So I'm just going to read it, and y'all can let me know if y'all have any questions, and feel free to go ahead and start putting questions in the chat and I'll get to them. I'm trying to monitor everything. I'm in a flow. I've been trying to be still today and really think about how I'm feeling. My mind has been all over the place, but something that kept coming up for me is hearing people say not too long ago, why does America hate us? The simple but hard question keeps circling around my mind, and it's made its way into my soul. I wonder, how do I keep pretending everything is okay when everything is not okay? Just in case you didn't know, us is Black people. Just to be clear, when I say Black people, it's inclusive: African, Ethiopian, East African, Kenya, mixed race, etc. I'm not excluding any parts of Blackness. Back to the hate part though. Why is it so easy to hate people that have allowed you to have your way with them, who you were able to treat in the most cruelest of ways and are making a human being bow down to your every command? You wouldn't even allow them the simple pleasure in keeping the name their parents gave to them. You found the heaviest metal to bound their hands and feet, to control them in every way. The way they walked, the way they stood up, where they could put their hands, and ultimately you broke their heart and soul and control the stare in their eyes and the blankness and the non-existent smile. But they surprised you. Even with you having all this power and control, you couldn't break all of them. They fought back. They ran the first time they had a chance. They catered to your every need and feeding your babies and your entire families as they yearned for the day that they would have more than what you had. Because no matter what you did and how hard you tried, you couldn't take away their love and desires. So once they made it through all of that, you continued your hateful ways. You felt like they could never be equal or have what you have, from education to money to opportunities of growth and development to the sheer pleasure of happiness. So you continue to prove that you hated them. You made it hard for them to just be without being so scared that you were constantly looking over their shoulders. They were constantly living in fear because they didn't want to make you upset. Don't drink from that fountain. Don't you sit at that counter. No, you can't have the job that challenged your mind, but you know you can always clean my floors. I may not be able to beat you with my fist, but I will break you down with this whip, this stick, this fire, this bullet, and this rope. Your hate for them was so strong that you made sure that they took care of your children while leaving their children alone. Feeding your children from their bosoms were more than they fed their own child. Feeding your children top shelf food while putting together what they can for their child. But even through all of that, their children came out stronger, better, and smarter than yours. So your hate continued because you needed to keep them in their place. Can't let them believe that they can be better or just as good as you or yours. So you limited their education. You didn't allow them to vote. You made them enter through the back door. You put them on the back of the bus. You could only be their friend if they promised not to tell anyone. You threw them in jail, not because they did something wrong, but because you were threatened by their presence. They made it through all of that. And you still have just as much hate. You still think you're doing them a favor because you let them have a better job, make some money, drive nice cars, get on a plane, go to college, have a family, and eat good food. The only difference in the hate now from the hate then is that for some reason, you don't understand why they feel so much hate. That's a damn shame. We've been so good. We stay quiet the majority of the time. We've learned to play your games. We know when to smile, when not to cuss you out for speaking out of pocket or hauling off and whipping your ass as if we were Mike Tyson or Muhammad Ali. You are so filled with hate that you can't see that we deflect that hate every day. Our eyes are glossed over. You can't see the realities of how we truly feel. We've gotten so good at being in what you deem as your world that we can move through space and time like we are on top of the world. We've been taught and groomed to play your game, to live in your world. You're probably wondering, how are we able to do that when it's obvious that we hate you? Because our Blackness is the key to our survival. Sharon, this piece reminds me of the old saying in the South: you can live as close as you want, but don't go too high. In the North, you can go as high as you want, but don't live too close. I first heard this in my 20s from a Jewish friend who grew up in Cambridge, Massachusetts. I used to think that the Pacific Northwest was closer to the Northern description, but over time came to think that both the South and North statements apply in the Pacific Northwest at different times, and Black people have to learn to quickly adjust. Thank you, Zola. Love you. Precisely. You said it so well. I appreciate that. Ruth says, thank you, Sharon, for allowing me into your personal space. Do you feel like you created a safe space for your father to share with you and hopefully empower him to heal or help a little from past experiences? Yes, I do. I think it was interesting that he had a shared moment and he went and got his notepad and he started reading his thoughts to me. And he was like, Sharon, I haven't done this before. I haven't put my thoughts on paper before. And what he don't know, and he should be on this call somewhere, what he doesn't know is that I actually hit voice memo and started recording him reading it to me. And I'm going to use it in something one day without his permission. But I think I try with people, and I said this the other day when I was speaking to a group at Seattle University. I know that the only way that we can be better as a community is to have these hard conversations. And so at times I am willing to have those conversations like today, right? I am willing to allow you to ask me what you might think is a crazy ass question, or maybe racist, or maybe something that you couldn't ask anybody because you don't have that friend. And the reason why I create that space is because I'm not going to take it personally that you don't know and that you need to know. It's about like my relationship with the LGBTQ community. I don't know what it means to be trans or queer or any of those things, but I'm in close enough relationship with some of those people in that community that I can say, okay, now tell me what that means. And so I try to create space where somebody can say, all right, Sharon, tell me, can you tell me what that means? And not be offended by the question. Because if we're always offended by the question, then that person will never get the answer and that person could never be better. And so, it's just, I just try to do that because I want us to be a better society. And someone just asked, does anything give you hope? Yes. The ability to be on this call gives me hope. The ability that Amanda had no clue what I was going to talk about today and allow me free reign to come in and say what I wanted to say and be me. It gives me hope every time I'm at a table that there's not a lot of people that look like me and I can say, all right, how do we get people to this table? It gives me hope looking into the eyes of my nieces and nephews and my friends, and that all gives me hope, but it's not easy. And so I carry my burden, but I also know that I'm here to make the world a better place. And so my stories allow me to do that. And I feel as though in telling them, this is my purpose. Zola said, although sorrow brought on your father's sharing moment of writing, it's good that it became a moment of closeness in the end. Exactly. So for all of you, if you're going through something, you have to find a way to get it out of you. And that may be calling up a friend and having a conversation. That may be writing. That may be painting. That may be stitching something. That may be working out. But you can't continue to hold on to those moments because then you won't thrive. And so, like I tell my team at CD Forum, Central District Forum for Arts and Ideas, I have to allow them to bring their entire selves to everything that we do. It's not no code switching amongst us. It's who are you? You bring your creativity, you bring what you're thinking, you bring everything to the table because that's what makes us as an organization, as a people, stronger. And so for those of you that are teachers and faculty, and Amanda's cat that's in the background, you have to allow people to bring their entire selves, and you don't know what their story is, and they don't have to tell you what their story is, but you have to give way to who they are. The reason why I like to wear collars and stuff like this, and why I have a lot of these piercings on my face, because I want to catch you off guard. I didn't know why I was getting all these piercings. I went through a phase. I guess I was going through something. I have about 14 piercings, according to my grandmother. But I want to catch you off guard, and I want to bring my entire self. I want to wear a collar. I want to wear my Timberlands. I want to wear my hoodies, my t-shirts, and my jeans. And I'm going to come to the table like that, no matter what table. But it took me years to get there. I'm in my 40s. In my 20s, I couldn't say that. So my job is to allow those in their 20s and younger and all the way in between to be able to come to the table as themselves. And so that's why I have this conversation with you. Deepa said, appreciate your voice so much, Sharon. I'm curious, when do you think you first realized why to do this letting go? And where am I still hanging on? I think I first realized it when I had my first depressive breakdown. And I was working at Seattle University at the time, and I thought it was the job. And actually, I'm gonna switch gears and just read that piece. How about that? And that'll tell you that story. And it's called Amazing Me. I sat in a room with white walls staring at the examination table. The nurse went through all of the routine medical checks. Then she handed me a piece of paper and told me to answer the questions while I was waiting for the doctor. Generally, when they handed me a document to complete, I started at the top, writing my name, contact information, and began to make my way down the page. This time, I skipped the top and went straight to the questions. My answers, yes. Yes, yes. I guess so. Yes. Before the doctor even entered the room, I had confirmation. I had a form of depression. I don't think depression hurt me. I think identifying that I was depressed saved me. I traveled in this space on earth in a dark cloud of life. At the time, I blamed it on my job. It wasn't what I felt as though I was put on earth to do. And by doing it every day, I felt as though it sucked the life out of me. But how was this so when I didn't even know I was depressed? I didn't know what the symptoms of depression were. So how could I have allowed something, or shall I say a situation, suck anything out of me? It took a friend who wouldn't stop telling me something was wrong with me. It took a situation to where it was time to support a friend at a major milestone and me not wanting to be a part of it for me to realize something was wrong with me. It took me being so angry to go somewhere and be somewhere doing something that I love to do on a Sunday for me to ultimately look in the mirror and say, what is wrong with you? This moment in time, I realized that it's not the job, but it's something within this body we often refer to as a temple that's wrong. It's at this moment that I realized I'm not just angry this one time, but I stay angry. I'm the ultimate mad Black woman. And to ease my soul each day, I rush to get home to drink the grapes that were especially made for me. It was a time when being alone and in solitude in the dark for days actually makes me happy. Sleep is maybe 2 or 3 hours in the night and a few more on the weekends. It was this time I started questioning things like, how do I follow my heart? I can't follow my heart. It's embedded in me. It's in this temple that at times seems strong and still, but lately feels at any point it will shatter to pieces. How do you follow your heart when you feel broken? When you feel the world is against you, when if everything was perfect, you would still find something wrong? How do you follow your heart when you feel like you're standing in the middle of the earth and the only thing that seems to be spinning is you? While your head is hurting and your eyes are crossing and your ears are hearing what they want to hear. When your knees are weakening and your back is aching and your arms won't leave your side. How do you follow your heart when you feel like the pain is too much to bear and joy no longer comes in the morning? When it always seems to be dark and the moon and stars aren't clear? How do you follow your heart when the blood no longer flows and the tears constantly flow and the smile is forever gone? When what you knew was no more and the truth is staring at you from the floor? How do you follow your heart when it's been broken into a million pieces and you don't have the energy to pick up piece after 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 piece? How do you follow your heart? So I'm gonna leave that right there. I hope that answers your question, Deepa. I'm still returning to the nation, Jane says, of letting go of power and control, the notion of letting go of power and control. What can help folks see how, why do this letting go, and where am I still hanging on? Oh, I already read that, right? It's a work in progress. It's nothing that I can say or do that makes me do it overnight. And because that's how our world is ran. But you can actually call yourself out in situations. And you'd be like, am I saying this because I want to be in control? Am I saying this because of my place of position? And that's how you handle that. That's how you work through that. You call yourself out. And then you take the time to say, and when you realize that you had those moments, don't be afraid to go back to the person, whether they're your employee, your subordinate, your student, your child, to say, I'm sorry. I realized that I was coming from a place of power and control. And I want to rethink how I handled the situation, and then start from there. And that's how you combat power and control. T says, I appreciate this so much, coming to the table as ourselves, no code switching, knowing that we are valuable, even if we aren't fitting into the white professional mode that we are told we have to adhere to in order to be seen. White professional mode, I mean, I got you. Yeah, I mean, it's really hard, but it's really hard because when you go to school, they tell you all the wrong things, right? For example, I came out of college with an MBA and a BA, right? And so one of the things they told me in grad school, don't drink with don't drink with your bosses. Don't go to work and don't drink. Oh, okay, I will not drink. So I get to work. I started working for a biotech company called Immunex, which then merged with Amgen and created Embryo, the arthritis medicine. And they had happy hours all the time. We had happy hours quarterly. And you telling me not to drink, and they sitting here passing me wine, and I'm like, huh? They said not to drink. And then I look crazy because I'm a drinker and I can't drink. So sometimes I think we teach things and not knowing, and we leave out the real world and what the real world is like. And so no, don't get drunk at the party. If you have a drinking party, if you have a drinking problem, hell no, do not drink. But get that glass, take a little sip, but be professional about everything that you do. And so sometimes I think we get locked down, and we do this in profession too, right? I run a nonprofit, and when they want us to write a grant, there's this grant speak. I don't speak grant speak. I tell stories, and this is how I do it. And so it's been hard for me to transition to that. But then once we did a huge grant for Mellon Foundation, and I had someone else come in and write the grant, and then we needed to answer some questions, and I answered them, and they was like, your voice was refreshing in that application. So sometimes we just don't do us because somebody told us not to do us, but that's not necessarily true. So, Sabrina, you watch Shaking Shit Up. Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah.
You did?
I do. I love how you really encourage artists, and you're just so positive, and you have such a positive take. It's beautiful.
Thank you. For those of you who don't know what Shaking Shit Up is Shaking Shit Up is my show that actually will be back March 4th with Michael B. Main will be my guest. He is my producer partner, but we're putting him on blast in the first show for 2021. And so Shaking Shit Up is where we invite two artists to come in, and we go back and forth on their thing, and we really just examine their work and what it pulls out on us. If you go to my website, there's a Shaking Shit Up thing, and you can watch all the old episodes of Shaking Shit Up, but it started out of COVID. Thank you, Sabrina, so much. Greg said, I like your Team Sharon shirt. You seem to support yourself. Well, Team Sharon brings everybody with me, and I do support myself. I love me, but there's some Team Sharon members on here. I know my friend Sandra is on here. Fran is on here. Oh, yes. I loved your email this weekend, Fran. You made me cry. And Team Sharon is started when I ran an organization called the Mahogany Project. And I just want to let everyone know we have about 10 minutes left. So if you have a question, go ahead and throw it in the box. So if you want to hear a special piece, go ahead and put that in the comments. But Team Sharon, when I stopped running the Mahogany Project, decided to let the Mahogany Project go and started focusing on myself, Sharon Irene Williams LLC. Team Sharon was all my advisors. It started off as all my advisors. So Fran was in there, Kevin Mayfield from Seattle University, big support, Christine Sumption. And these were the people that I could go to ask them about storytelling. Like, how do I get my stories out there? What should I do next? And ask for advice. And then it blossomed into it wasn't just my advisors anymore. It was my friends who support me. It was people that don't know me that support me. It's people that show up to my shows become Team Sharon members. And so, yeah, and Team Sharon is dope, and it keeps me lifted, but I still have the advisors and I still have the friends, and everybody has their role. But I just decided, like, if I'm gonna do this work, I need some support. And I need people that's going to challenge me to work when I don't feel like working, and know when I need to, I'm doing too much and not doing enough of what I love. So that's Team Sharon. Yeah, Team Sharon represent. Sabrina is officially a Team Sharon member. And Amanda too. Julia said, what brings you joy? Honestly, this brings me so much joy. I came in here basically butt naked and share with y'all my soul of work that nobody has read other than my friend Suryanka in India. And she reads it before I read it. I just read this stuff for the first time yesterday. And so being in front of people, telling stories really brings me joy. When my family listens to me, it brings me joy. I recently had my family think I'm crazy. I'm the diamond in the rough. I'm that person. I'm the one that stands out. Yes, I'm crazy. I live out here by myself. 3,000 miles away. It's just crazy. But I do have a pit bull, so don't try to come to my house. She will eat you alive after she cuddles with you. But she will. But it really does make me happy when they watch a show. It makes me happy when they start to listen to me, because at the end of the year I always say we have what are your goals? What are you doing? Short, long term? And they be like, really, Sharon? Really? But this year, at the beginning of this year, I say, like, what's your purpose? What are you doing? Why do you do what you do? And my niece Caress and Elio were like, yo, let's meet. Let's talk about it. And I was like, oh my God, they're listening. They want to talk. They want to know more. And so that brought me so much joy. And so my nieces and nephews are everything, and my family are everything. And my pit bull is so cute. Actually, she's being good. She's on her own couch looking out the window. So that's cool. We have about 7 minutes left. Any other questions? And you can take yourself off of mute and exit if you don't want to write it in.
I'd love to hear anything you have to say anymore, or anything about religion, Sharon. And thank you so much for everything you're giving.
You are welcome.
I'm just curious.
Okay, I got you on religion. I have this piece called It Started with Church. Wait a minute. Should I read that one? I started with church. No, I think I'm going to go a little bit hardcore. And Started with Church is just about how church has shaped me and everything, like speaking and how I dress and how I show up, and recognizing that church was my community center. And it wasn't just about, it was more, even though it's hard to say it, but I can say it, it was more than just praising God. It was about community and being with community and fellowshipping with community. But then, there's some heartache with churches as well, and how they want you to, people of church want you to be a certain way. So this is a piece I wrote called Breaking Up. I love my family. We're by no chance perfect, and we are as dysfunctional as they come. Don't act like y'all families aren't dysfunctional too. But no matter what, there's this core group of them that always ask me, did you go to church today? Yes, service was good this morning at Bedside Baptist. The ushers were so nice. Everyone was as comfortable as they could be. The collection plate was full. The pastor didn't stay up too long. And at one point, I even thought I heard the angels singing. You didn't go to church. Why? Well, let me see. Maybe it was because I didn't want to go. Maybe it was because I'm tired. Maybe it was because my car wouldn't start. Nah, yo, I can't put that on my car. Maybe I didn't have anything to wear. Maybe because the football game was on. Maybe because it was raining. Yeah, it was coming down. Maybe because I'm over it. Maybe because I don't want to be fake today. Maybe because when I came, you taught me the good, the bad, the ugly, and it awakened me to an idea of a better way. You didn't need to go to church. Why? It's kind of sort of like just happened gradually. For a while, I wanted to go. For a while, I was open and ready to serve. I was officially a grown-up. I can make my own decisions. So I chose you. I chose to follow you. I've been told to do this all my life, but I finally felt as though it was my choice. I could choose to go your way. I could choose to go their way, or I could choose to go my own way. All I knew was I wanted to continue the right way. Bedside Baptist, why? Something just stopped in me. I stopped feeling the need to be present. I stopped feeling as though I would be missed. I stopped feeling like I was being fed, and I'm not talking about the food. I stopped feeling like I was part of something greater than me. I stopped feeling like it was trying to make me better. I stopped feeling like you wanted me. I started feeling like it was less about my soul and more about you. I want to see Jesus. I got to see Jesus. I need to see Jesus. I want to see Jesus. I got to see Jesus. I need to see Jesus. Yeah. I'm sorry. You started fading and I didn't know if I should stop it or if I wanted to. I needed the understanding that I was free to be me, not perfect, but have a good heart. But you couldn't accept me for me. Yes, I'm not above using profanity. I will cuss a mother out if need be. I drink, not just wine, gin, rum, brandy. If it has a spirit, I may drink it responsibly. If I had a man, I would have sex with no thought of marriage. Not one single thought or any sense of commitment. Times are hard, y'all. I will wear a tiny skirt and cleavage showing. Okay, I'm lying. I wouldn't wear a tiny skirt, but if I wanted to, I would. I listen to all kind of music, all of it. Alcohol encouraged, sex highlighted, feelings being heard, ass kicking music. I'm not totally against weed. I can't smoke it, but I'll eat an edible if it helps me sleep. Lord knows nothing the doctor has given me has helped. I'm okay with meeting people at where they are, who they can be are important to me. I want community that won't ask me not to be me. I want a community that understands that if you teach me, I'm not just going to follow, I'm going to adapt it to fit me. Honestly, it just doesn't feel true anymore. I believe in God with all my heart. You help teach me. You help shape my ideas and the way I see the world, but the confines of the four walls are no longer enough. I got to be me. It's within me. I need to be me. I got to be me. Hey, oh, it's within me. Oh, I need to be me. Go Sharon. I got to be me. It's within me. What? I need to be me. Hey, say yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, DeAndre. So I hope that gave you a little bit of how I feel about church. You typing, Hash?
Thank you. It did.
All right. That's what's up. So I know we have to go, so I'll say this. Sorry, my voice went there. I think a lot of great stories could come from there for a lot of folks. Yes. What is wrong with my throat right now? I ain't got that loud in a while. I had a professor in college who said that we have an obligation to share the positive parts of ourselves within the world. You're reminding me of that. Thank you, Donsa. I hope I said your name correct. Thank you for giving us this full dose of you, Sharon. You're welcome, Jane. Yes, Sandra. Love you. Love the line, I'm okay meeting people where they are. Me too. Amazing. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Sue. Thank you. Wonderful time spent with you. Thank you, Carol. Thank you, Karen. You give so much of yourself, and we are so grateful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me. If you want more of my information, SharonNWilliams.com. Please follow me there. I have a YouTube channel, Sharon Nyree Williams. I'm Sharon Nyree Williams on just about every platform. I appreciate you, and I hope that today something sparked for you to continue the conversation. Much appreciation.
Thank you so much, Sharon. Amazing. So great. So great to hear your voice, even though now it's gone. You're like, I used it up.
I gave it all.
It's right. It's right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.